Yeah. Greetings. It's a Wednesday. It's 6 days after the last few. So there won't be one every month, but every week. I mean, but yeah, it's a Chimera update. Something to report on. You see, we've done some painting of some figures. This is supposed to be Alton Indigo soon. Yeah, so apparently there's a little bit of Picard in the story. Yeah, so the story. This script, I think we got up to page 36 so far. Around there. Yeah, and there's lots of other figures that I could go over, but probably shouldn't really. The sets are in that box. They're kind of a mess. They wouldn't be compatible with the Transformer sets, obviously. So unlike when we did Trans Tech and then tore things down and rebuilt them as Chimera, that wouldn't be the case here. We wouldn't be tearing down Transformer sets and rebuilding them for Chimera again. It would be more like we would just use new ones because the backdrop stuff is pretty worn out. And I don't know why that cat is meowing. Seska is going to be playing Cedo Jackson, of course. Cat. And that's a Tendi from anime. It's Janeway, but no, it's Tendi in this version. She'd be in her 50s. So would she. They both would be. So, so yeah, it's Tendi. That's what she looks like now. From Lower Decks. Lower Decks was 2080. It's now 2402. So it's 22 years later. She would be 22 years older. So yeah. What is the matter with you? Yeah, there's a Lower Decks character. Because there has to be. Because it's like you have to have. Well, there's continuity between the two. But yeah, Lower Decks is basically Silly Trek. So yeah, we have to pay homage to Mr. McMahon's story by having a character that's visiting the show. We have other characters that we're yet to introduce. Going over some of the character bio stuff. They're in the script. I think Alexander Rishenko will be back. Stop it. Alexander Rishenko, yeah, he's now an adult. Alexander Rishenko, of course, is Worf's son. We even dragged up Jeremy Astor, who was Worf's adopted little godbrother from that TNG episode in the same season that Seska disappeared. Yeah, so Rishenko would be almost 30, and a little over 30, I think. Astor would be in his 40s, I would think, at this point. He'd be in his 40s. So, yeah. So at this point, yeah. So, and he's the xenoarchaeologist / stellar cartography guy. Rishenko was helmsman in special forces and other stuff. Yeah. So we have and this is not Edith Keeler. This is a tie-in to. Well, it wasn't Edith Keeler. It's a tie-in to the Trouble with Edward, which is the Trouble with Tribbles prequel, which was a Silly Trek episode, and in that one, Edward's commander was this lady, Miss Locarno. That's very Locarno. We decided that they spelled it a little differently, but that's what they were thinking, Locarno. So this is an ancestor of Nicholas Locarno in Paris. Ancestor of theirs who shows up on the planet. And yeah, and she's been on the planet. She got rejuvenated by the planet. It has rejuvenating powers because it's silly and fell into Cillian space. So She's still hundreds of years old, but over 100 years old. But she's been by the Cillian planet stuff. So, there are Cillians in it. There's more of them. There's some others back there. There's Towhead Harris, John Curtin, of course, is in it. Also, we have figured out a way to bring back Koloth, or a version of Koloth from the Cillian timeline, and a version of course, Cyrano Jones, Cillian timeline. Took someone's advice from the online and said, take a Scotty figure from the relics and just paint him up to look like Cyrano Jones. Because you're going to find that anywhere else. Yeah, so I didn't make those. This does work. Yeah, so it's a little bit odd. It's a little odd that they're doing that. It's strange. The characters have grown a little in 14 years since we've seen them. And yeah, so yeah, this is in Cillian space. The way that works is the 78 years is connected by anomalies. So the 78 years between TNG and original generation and TNG are connected. So you have if it's 2324, it's also 2402, and it would also be 2024 as well. So in the story, this is gonna come out way before 2024, but we're setting it a little in the future, just in case. Unlike the last one, where we're like, oh, the last one totally takes place in 2006, 1988, and 2188, and 1986, and 23, 88, and 2388, and all those other years, It totally does in 2369 and all that. It didn't really. Yeah. So yeah, for the original crew, it has been a lot more years than that, and it's 2324 by their reckoning. So it's 78 years later would be early 25th century. That's as far as we know what's going on. Yeah, as I was saying, the Star Trek characters, the sets were falling apart to begin with. They are in the box, but they are degraded to the point that they really can't be used. Also, since then, the apparently balsa wood and other wood dust was declared carcinogenic. So how do we build the sets without the balsa wood dust and all that? We'd have to probably build them outside so that we don't get the dust. Build them outside, or something. Or have well ventilated areas for constructing the. If we build anything. Most of the sets would then have to be done without that, with cardboard or something else. Because, yeah, if we cut any of them into them, then the sawdust. Yeah, so we want the characters building the sets to be safe. Yes. These are unlike the paints that we painted the original figures. These are non-toxic paints. They are from Magic Fly. That's wasn't familiar with the brand. They're mattes though, which is should have been glossy, but that's all right. They're mattes. It's fine. Yeah, and we're not. It's not a sponsor or anything. It's just the paints we used. If you want to know, the other paints that we used were some of these other poster paints from the Transformer set. We used Apple Barrel. Apple Barrel paints from Michaels and online. And they're similar. They're non-toxic acrylic paints. So just the paints are non-toxic. The original paints were testers, and they probably were toxic. So yeah, I don't want to use those. Yeah. I could grab characters and show them to you, but it would be a little silly. Well, here's a Tabby. She's the younger sister of Sela. Apparently there were two of them. Yeah. Let's see. Here's a redress of Cool Hand Riker, done up as Captain Admiral Riker. Cool Hand Riker. Crew back. yeah, so figured why not do. I mean, they're action figures, right? Again, their timeline can be visiting each other. In the Cillian books, 2391, they encounter that Eon planet again, and the old crew goes there. Also, in that same season in the book, same time period, they sent a crew on the Chimera in one of their ship back to Abrams' universe to recover Spock's body, to attempt to bring him back to the present and bury him in the present. But they were able to get there just before he died, and they just made the body disappear. Instead, they brought the body to the future and repaired his injuries. Yeah. So they repaired his injuries, and then he and the old crew in the Cillian stories, all the old crew, even the dead ones, were regenerated by the Eon planet's V'ger-like powers. V'ger-like advanced powers. Copies of them were made, so they would live forever. Golems, basically. So. Yes, Picard is dead, but he was turned into a golem, so come back. He gives them their marching orders to go to the planet. Yeah, it was odd that Riker didn't turn around and try to rescue him. I chalked that up to a scene that was probably missing, in which Riker wasn't actually there, because he has no impact on the events in the story except to say, the Romulans were attacking in 2399 on the planet, over the planet. That wasn't Nepotesia, that was the other planet. Nepotesia was the Riker planet. This was the android planet. Deludia or whatever it was. It's a different planet. And it's like, okay, what that imagination machine they basically had, which is out of silly track. They basically had a portable one. They could, Picard and her dreamt up other ships and stuff. What if they just dreamt up Riker coming to save them? He was never actually there. Because then that makes that scene make more sense. Like, that explains why he didn't come back and why they all disappeared, because they all fled. Thinking it was really Riker when it wasn't. Okay, the other thing that I said earlier, the earlier thing saying, no, it should have been the Klingons. If they were going to do it actually being Riker, then it should have been a full-on let's kick some ass, for like 20 more minutes. And let's just clean up, and Riker shows up, and Sela shows up, and Worf shows up, and they all battle the Romulan lady, send her packing. But that's not what happened, and it really wasn't imagined either. Apparently they tacked on the Riker thing at the end and did it last minute, and they used the Discovery bridge set and just turned him around slightly, so the chair was just rotated a little, and then they made it look like the ops console was really the other console, and they switched them. Put the view screen where the science station was. So they just turned him around. So yeah, on the Discovery. So it's they did some strange things there, and yeah. So their appetites over. So this is a. They're just lying here. See, we have Uhura, who is the liaison on the planet. That's why her outfit is slightly different. And also because it was very red, so I made it very purple. And on camera, it looks very purple. We have, it looks like McCoy and Chekhov and Spock. And McCoy, Chekhov, Spock, Sulu, Kirk. They're not really embracing, they were just lying together. Oh yes, is that so? Mm-hmm. And here we have some other ones. Here we have Astor, I think. Looks like it's Jeremy Astor. Yeah, and here we have, well, it's not, he's a young Picard. Sorry, we have Worf playing his son, Xander, and we have, here's the guy, the alien, the guy, Scotty. That isn't Scotty, he's really the other guy. And then we have some other ones from here. And yeah, so that's pretty much that. And that's pretty much this video. I mean, there isn't really Mark's cards returns tomorrow to survey the damage done to the set. But no, it's well, we shall so see what's going on. We wouldn't start filming until there's a script, so don't worry about that. That's the way it's off. But yeah, there's some sets to set up. We're not using any of the Transformer sets, and we're probably not using any of the old Chimera sets because they're literally disintegrated. They're there, but they're disintegrating. And the way we set those up, those always took a lot of time. The way it was disintegrating looked bad. It worked in the movies, and you could tell toward the end that it was kind of falling apart because they didn't even use, when they showed the final shot of the crew leaving, it was footage from earlier in the movie that they just put on the end to show the crew on the bridge. Because we didn't have any good footage from that bridge. It was falling apart from later. So in this case, there'll be a new bridge, new ship design and everything. So that ought to be cool. So yeah, presumably the first Chimera was lost or destroyed, and Dax took over and as the captain, and yeah. So presumably. Let's see. Okay, the Chimera was so the idea is that Esri Locarno, now she's married to him, is the captain now, and it's the Chimera A. So that we can have an excuse to rebuild the model to studio quality. Yeah. And a courier ship that we've never seen. Now, we're not using the Jacques for the courier ship. No. The Jacques was the runabout from Brian's story. It's probably around. We're just not using it for the courier ship. Yeah, so new Starship locations, new movie, new adventure. Yeah, so nothing. I don't want to give away too much because it's all preliminary. Most of it's probably going to change. So yeah, a lot of that other stuff is preliminary. But there was figure painting, and yeah. I don't know where those original crew people show up. They might show up in the second act. We'll see. It's David Gerrold's script is very loosely introduced in there and in places, to the point of that it's almost not. Basically took the ideas that he had. Okay, man-eating tribbles, cool. Yeah. And expounded on that and said, okay, he didn't do this, but one of the man-eating tribbles should be the Tribble Queen, and she should have a divine voice. They should meet the Tribble Queen, and it should talk to them, like Little Shop of Horrors plant kind of thing, but a Tribble. Also, you need kind of a goofy stuff going on, because he only wrote really half of an episode. He wrote 50 pages of half of an episode of a two-parter that he didn't write the second half to, so it feels like it doesn't have an ending. His way of ending it was the Silly Trek ending, very similar to ours, right on the same wavelength. We followed the script, Jim, and it's over. Oh, and I don't understand what's left of the script. It's like, okay, they literally referenced the script to the story in the story. That's very Silly Trek. Yeah, so this is written in the same vein as that, premise being that, but it is not David Gerrold's story. It is at this point completely different, except for Tribble Planet, Tribble Hunt, Tribble thing going on the planet, then some people are threatened. That's the only similarities, and he will be listed in the credits as a premise by, but his script is not used really at all, because we want it to be our own thing, and also royalties to an actual author out there, and we can't afford that, and it's going to be free online, so we don't want to do that. Troubles, and some fans would object to, why you're referencing the Trouble with Edward, that's dumb, but no, it's Silly Trek, it's supposed to be dumb, I do explain away some of that, and also, I make it make sense, and also there's a scene where we reference a very, very old early TNG episode. An old TNG episode is referenced. the conspiracy, the one with the alien parasites. And it is indirectly connected to the Trill. Because we like making weird connections. Like in the first one when we were like, oh, let's combine like V'ger and the Borg. They're related to the Borg. Ew, it was okay, yeah. They visited, V'ger visited a Borg planet, basically. So they recognize each other. That's all. It's not that V'ger assimilated the Borg or that the Borg is V'ger or that they're an ancestor. That's too convoluted. No, it's that V'ger visited the Borg. And the probe tried to assimilate it. Nothing happened. They visited the Borg. A version of the Borg. So. And it's not the origin of the Trill. We're thinking like the conspiracy aliens are sort of like renegade Trill. Renegade Trill. That's more or less there. If you're gonna rip off trans tech, might as well just. Which is kind of like they're kind of assimilating. Kind of, sort of. Anyway, so yeah, that's a little convoluted. It might change. Who knows? That's my update.